See how we're
Okay.
doing. Hello, ladies, and welcome to our new moon study. We're going to start out with, I just want to hear about your Heshvan, your 8th month. If anybody had any insights during that month, if you were able to catch last month's recording, if you were there, I would love to know if you guys saw anything, any connections to the themes, the Torah portions, Noah's Ark, the rainbow, the promises, all of those things we kind of pulled out of last month. If you have something, feel free to unmute yourself and just let me know. I would love to hear about it. Anyone? Okay. Okay, so as you're walking through these months, really like journaling is a great thing that kind of helps you start connecting. And I hope that you'll begin to see it like not just as, okay, now we're going in the 9th month. Now we're in the 10th month. I want you to begin to see how those flow. And once we get through several months, you'll start to see how the themes flow together. You'll see how even the constellations kind of will flow together to give us those messages. Maybe it's those words that we talked about, the medots, the characteristics that we're supposed to kind of be working on. So if anybody had any of those things that come up, just journal those. And next time you're in, or if you're watching the replay, ladies, just go in, and I would love to just hear about things that you saw in the month that that was just pertinent or stood out to you. So I look forward to seeing those things from you. So I'm going to share my screen. Oh. Hold on just one second. Okay. I'll go back over here. I forgot to have it up. I'm sorry. I'm still new to all this. Okay. Lev Mekudash. Does anybody remember what that means? Lev, does anybody know that one? Let's see if I can get it to switch here for me.
Is it heart?
Lev is heart.
Ooh, yay.
And so Lev Mekudash, it's not letting me. There we go. Renewed heart. So Mekudesh has to do with renewed, and Kodesh is your word for moon or month. So you kind of see that they have that same root word there. So Lev Mekudesh, the renewed heart. So ladies, we have journeyed from the 8th month. And if you guys remember, there was a lot of talk about Noah, the flood, the promises. 8 has to do with new beginnings. So 7 is complete and wholeness, right? So 7 is our full week. Our 7th day, we get that rest. And then on the 8th day, we begin again. We begin anew. And so that's where we have been so far. So in the 7th month, we were filled up with all of our feast days, ending our feast cycle. We came to a completeness. And in the 8th month, we began anew. And so now that we are journeying on into the 9th month of Kislev. And so here you see we've got Hanukkah that will be happening during Kislev, is one of our, not a biblical feast, but the people's feast is one of the ways they will say that, one of the people's feast days. That and Purim tend to be the people's holidays. We're going to have conversations about dreams, and you'll see our bow and arrow there. So lots of really cool things that just really flow together in this month. It's the 9th month. So the 9th month, and I have to move my bar down so I can read all of my stuff here. I forget I can put this somewhere else. So Kislev, security, trust, hope. So we find that that's comes out of like a Babylonian name, Kislev. Usually, originally it would have just been the 9th month. And they have put a connection to a couple of different words in Hebrew, but everything that I can find about the meaning of this word Kislev has to do with security, trust, and hope. And some of that's going to come up at the end. So I want you to kind of remember that. We do have note pages that are downloadable in our cafe. So if you go under my cafe call, there should be some downloadables, and there's notes there that will go through a couple of, it'll give you the bullet points and you can fill them in. And I always, for me, it's always helpful if I'm going to be listening and I'm also writing, kind of gives me that double way to learn. But the
Erica?
9th month, I'm sorry, Rhonda, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to clarify, so we can get those notes before the yours, your.
Yeah, they're in the, if you go into your library and you can download one and just print them off yourself, or you can go ahead and download, 12 of them if you want to, but you can download one and just make copies as needed, or just copy it in your notebook. I try to follow that outline. I might deviate a little bit, but I try to follow those bullet points somewhat in order, because I know if I'm trying to chase down notes on a note sheet, it drives me crazy. So
Just go to your page.
yes, in your cafe library, you'll go to the Rooted Cafe Lev Mekudesh call, and there should be a place where you can click on for downloads, and it should have it in there. Plus our resource page is also in there. So what's interesting, because we know that we have a dual calendar, that we kind of talked about that in the last month, that we had the birth of the earth, and then we had a rebirth. So we had our physical birth of the earth, the creation, just like us ourselves had our physical birth and our regular birthday. But there's also this idea of a rebirth. And so when Moses exited with Israel out, they were having that newness, that they were being birthed, as we talk about 9 and 9 months, they were being rebirthed out. And so not only is Kislev the 9th month, but is also the 3rd month. And if you see, I have a clock on here. If anybody watches Keisha's videos, she uses a clock illustration. I don't remember in which one. It might be maybe the very first one that she did. You'll just have to go through those because they're great, and you should go through them, and she'll go way deeper into things that I may not cover, or I may just hit on. And so if you go to YouTube and just look under Grace and Torah, you will find her videos there, or on her website, graceandtorah.net. They're fantastic videos that will take you way deep into several things. But she made a point of showing the clock, and that if we are looking at the months, if we are in the 9th month, look at what's across from it, and that is the 3rd month. And you can kind of see maybe correlations. And you really see this in the 1st month and the 7th month. So if you're looking at your clock, straight across from your 1 is the 7. And the 1st month is where we have our spring feast. And the 7th month is where we have our fall feast. And you see how those correlate together. They're like that mirror image, like if you fold it up, sort of like a chiasm, if you're familiar with the chiasm or creation gospel, the idea of a mirrored pattern together. So it's kind of like that. If you fold that clock in half on those months, they will mirror each other in some way. So the 9th month, I mean, when we think of 9, we think of gestation, labor, birth. We got the 9 fruits of the Spirit, the 9 gifts of the Spirit. And then the 3rd month is about resurrection and hope, that number 3. So 9 The number 9 gives us that idea of like new life and hope. But also in 3, we see that because the third day was Resurrection Day. So we have a really cool picture of that 9 and 3 kind of mirroring each other and working together. So we know that last month in Heshbon, we talked about uh, Noah and the ark. So in Heshvan, the 8th month, the rain started. And so if it rained for 40 days, it went all the way through Heshvan. And then I think it would have been the 27th of Kislev is the time that they traditionally put that the rain stopped. We have Hanukkah, the Feast of Dedication, Festival of Lights are the other names for it that happen. So as we begin to start walking through kind of these darker winter months, it can be hard for a lot of people. We touched on that last month that we're kind of beginning that. So especially around these traditional secular Christian holidays, even though it's supposed to be so festive, sometimes you see a lot of people who deal with a lot of depression during that time. And it may be because of the lack of light that they're getting physically. It may be because of the false light that they're getting, because really that's kind of what happened. We know that the enemy just like he wants to try to take things for himself. So if we have this true light that comes from the Father, and if we're thinking of Hanukkah, you think of the menorah, we have his true light and everything that that encompasses and means, and that's going to give way to life. But the false light is just going to take. And it really, if you think about the seasons coming in, it's about take, take, take. What's for me? What's in it for me? What am I getting? And so it kind of becomes that type of focus instead of how do we give? And not that there isn't good things that happen, because there is. There are good things that surround these times. There people give a lot of money out, you know. It's some of the biggest times for donations and stuff like that. So there are those things because there is that true light that is in all of us. But if we could just take hold of his true light that we see represented in the menorah, um, like how amazing would that be when we talk about being a city on a hill, if all of us are shining out that light. So we're going to talk, we might get into more of that. Kislev is also the month of dreams, or the month of hope and miracles. So the month of dreams, we see that in our Torah portions. So just a reminder to pay attention to the Torah portions you're reading. And you're definitely not going to get away from this idea of dreams coming up in Kislev. And dreams will be pertinent. We will be reading about Joseph's dreams, um, Jacob's dreams, most of Joseph's, I think 9 out of 10 of the dreams are recorded. We read those in the Torah portions during this month. The month of hope and miracles, of course, you know, when we think of Hanukkah, we think of the miracle of just the small band of people who were fighting to get back their holy place. And so we can talk about the miracle of the oil and, you know, whether that was like, whether it actually happened, you know, however that looks and whatever your beliefs are about that, there were some miracles that took place there because the small band of people were able to kick out the Greeks and get them out of there so that they could rededicate the temple. And really, Hanukkah is just a later tabernacles because they are dedicating the temple. And that is what tabernacles is all about. It's about dedicating the temple. So again, we have our 9 gestation. We're going to be thinking about birth. What are things that we're about to give birth to? What are those, you know, maybe what fruit of the spirit do we need to work on that so that we can have fruitfulness and see where that, you know, where that comes whenever it comes springtime, what kind of fruit we're going to start bearing. Let's see. Let me move my, I'm not sure why I keep losing like,
Erica,
yes.
hi. I'm sorry because I had to work till like almost 6:26, but I was on mute when you were asking questions. I don't know, like here in Michigan where I'm at, it has been nonstop raining. Raining,
Mhm.
raining, raining. Like my yard is like a lake almost. So you were just describing that with the the month that we're coming out of and the things we talked about, and this is the month that we're entering, that we just entered into, where the rains are going to stop. So I'm praying that the rains are going to stop here and coincide with that. But I haven't seen any rainbows or anything. So um I just wanted to pop in and say that because I wanted to encourage you, because we are paying attention. It must be hard when you're asking us these questions and we're all silent. So
Well, I appreciate that. And I know that, for some people this is new. So really learning it was new for me. It took me a long time to really start seeing all those connections that he's putting in front of us. And he does it. He'll do it.
yep, amen. So all
Well,
right.
I appreciate that. And that rain, we have to remind ourselves that rain is a blessing, and
Yep,
that these early rains, they just prayed for in Israel, right? They just prayed for
right.
all of these early rains to happen after tabernacles.
In my
And so,
mind, I'm okay. When I'm reading, it's like, yes, they're a blessing, and that's what they
mhm.
want, for that fruit to come forth by, in Passover. So, but I just, yeah, we've been heavily blessed with rain. So here
Right.
in
Well, we pray that we get just what we need,
yeah,
just enough. Thank you, Marcia.
yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Our tribe for the month is Benjamin, the son of my right hand. He actually had a name before that. And when he was born, Rachel called him Ben Oni, son of my mourning. And of course, we know that Rachel um, died during childbirth. And so we can see why, she was like pronouncing this out. But Jacob, um, but Jacob took that back and he said, no, he is the son of my right hand. Um, and we're going to give him that strong name. And of course, we know, when we look at Yeshua, we know that he is the right hand of the Father. All of those verses that we read about my right hand and extending my right hand, we know that he's talking about Yeshua, the Messiah. Benjamin was the only one born in the land. There's a lot of really good information on Keisha's site about um, Rachel and Benjamin and Joseph, and that whole idea of because where they buried her, then that weeping of Rachel as she watched them go out in exile because of their idolatrous ways, and she's weeping and waiting for them to come back. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later too, because that's really significant as we're talking about our dreams and our visions. We're going to talk about that just a little more, but I definitely recommend Keisha's teachings on that, on Rachel. I love to read the blessings for the month. It really gives us great insight. And the blessing for Benjamin is that he is a ravenous wolf. Um, in the morning, he devours his prey, and in the evening, he divides the plunder. Now, that may seem a little gory for us, or maybe a little aggressive. Maybe he's um, someone of war, which he was. Benjamin was of war, and we do know at some point that he got into enough trouble that he was pretty much excommunicated. um, but there is joy that comes back. Rhonda, I don't know if you remember this, Rhonda, was it in Heshvan? Is that one of the things that we talk about, is that that's when Benjamin was allowed back into the tribes, does that sound familiar? Okay, it seems like it was kind of either recent. Okay, um, because there's a time traditionally, one of the months, they celebrate Benjamin coming back into the fold, so to speak. But in Deuteronomy, Moses says Yahweh's beloved people uh, will live securely with him, who shields him all the day, and he dwells between his shoulders. So sometimes we got a lot of he and his, and I had to look this up to see how it was worded. And I'm hoping I got all of mine capitalized where it needed capitalized. But what's interesting, I'm a map girl. I love maps. And if you look at like the map that would have been as Joshua went in, where the tribes were assigned, Benjamin lies right between Ephraim and Judah, which I thought was interesting when we think of those two sticks coming together. But Jerusalem lies right inside of Benjamin. And so when it says, and he dwells between his shoulders, you can almost imagine like the temple sitting right there between Benjamin's shoulders. He's the protector of that place. It says the people will live securely there. So I don't know, that's just really kind of just one of those beautiful visuals when you look at the map and see where it's all kind of laid out. You know, that not only are these just pretty words that we read, but it's actual physical words. Benjamin was known to be, the tribe of Benjamin was known to be strong warriors and wielding a bow. I'm going to read Second Chronicles for you. This is just a great passage, so I just recommend reading it. Second Chronicles 14 and 15. I'm not going to read the whole thing, ladies. I don't want to scare you into that I'm going to be reading whole passages, but this is King Asa. So again, this is just a beautiful story. So I definitely say go and read it. So Asa's father had passed away, had died. And it says, Asa did good and right in the sight of Yahweh his Elohim, for he removed the foreign altars, high places, and tore down the sacred pillars, and cut down the Asherim, and commanded Judah to seek Yahweh their Elohim of their fathers, and to observe the law and their commandment. He removed the high places and the incense altars from all the cities of Judah, and the kingdom was undisturbed under him. So I think it says that I think there were 10 years. Yeah, in the first part of that passage, it says there were 10 years after his dad died that there were peace. He went through, he cleansed that land. And again, Hanukkah and these passages about, and we're going to read where Benjamin comes in here in a second. That's one of our themes, is that rededication, cleansing our land. We know that we kind of talk about like cleansing cleansing our houses at Passover, right? We're getting all the hametz, getting out the sin or the pride that dwells in there with the yeast and the leavening. But I just thought, what a beautiful picture of this time right now, because we are in these quiet months. You know, we've had our feast days, and we talked about this last month, that it's time to get to those root of those issues. And now it's kind of really focusing on idolatry. As I'm really thinking about it right now, are there some things that we've put in his place? This passage goes on to say that now Asa had an army of 300,000 from Judah, bearing large shields and spears, and 280,000 from Benjamin, bearing shields and wielding bows. All of them were valiant warriors. And then the next passage says that an Ethiopian came against them with an army of 1,000,000 men and 300 chariots. And I love this so much. Asa cries out to the Father and he says, there is no one besides you to help us in the battle between the powerful and those who have no strength. So help us. We trust you. So again, here's that trust. Here's that trust we just talked about, what Kislev is about this month. Trust and hope. This is just such a beautiful passage. Let's see. There is no one beside you. This is verse 11, chapter 14 of 2nd Chronicles, verse 11. Yahweh, there's no one beside you to help in the battle between the powerful and those who have no strength. So help us, O Yahweh, our Elohim, for we trust in you and in your name have come against the multitude. O Yahweh, you are Elohim, let not man prevail against you. And so it goes on to say that Yahweh rerouted them and they plundered them. And again, we saw that in Benjamin in Genesis. So he was a part of that tribe of Benjamin was a part of this battle going after these that were coming against the Father's people. Now, in chapter 15, let's see if I can find where it's at. One of the things, let's see, okay. Now when this is chapter 15 of 2nd Chronicles, verse 8. Now when Asa heard these words and the prophecy which Azariah, the son of Obed the prophet, spoke, he took courage. He removed the abominable idols from all the land of Judah and Benjamin and from the cities which he captured in the hill country of Ephraim. Then he restored the altar of Yahweh, which was in front of the porch of Yahweh, and he gathered all Judah and Benjamin and those from Ephraim, Manasseh, and Simeon who resided with them, for many had defected to him from Israel when they saw that Yahweh was with him. And it goes on that they did this rededication. So they set up the altar again and they did a rededication and they had offerings that they gave to the Father. And just interestingly, down in verse 16, as I was, chapter 15, verse 16, it says, this is King Asa. He also removed Maacah, maybe, the mother of King Asa. So this is his mom, from the position of queen mother, because she had made a horrid image as an Asherah, and Asa cut down her horrid image, crushed it, burned it at the brook of Kidron. The high places were removed. Nevertheless, Asa's heart was blameless all his days. And I just thought, wow, this is his mom. And right now is kind of one of those times that we're coming into that a lot of us know we've had maybe history issues in the past or coming up, maybe if we're new, when we're dealing with things about Christmas and the holidays. And not that we have to be always harsh about things. We always say that my husband and I kind of took the slow road around to get to Sabbath and spending time with his family. A lot of that had to do with discernment and listening to the Father. But there are some times when it is just pushed on you so much, and there's a point where you have to say, no more. No more will I have maybe this in my home, whether it be a Christmas tree or something, whatever it is that wherever you're at in your walk. But I can remember that point where it came for me, and I told my husband, I said, we're done, and he was fine with it. He was just waiting for me, and I said, we're done with this. I can't do it anymore. And so we know that sometimes we know that could be strong, hard issues, and we have to do those things with discernment and love so that it can be that true light. And we're not doing it out of anger, and we're not doing it from a place of hurtfulness, distrust. We have to trust the Father that he's going to walk these things out with us, and he's going to mend relationships when they need to happen. So I just want to encourage you in that. As I'm reading that, that's just kind of one of the things that's popping up at me during this time that we know we're going into. The identity issues is one of those things, one of those themes that comes up. Yeshua's identity is being challenged. You know, is it Jesus? Is it Yeshua? Is it Christmas? Is it, something else? And then that also affects us and our identity, who we are in him. So those things get challenged when you've kept the fall feast and people are like, what are you doing? What's tabernacles? Wasn't that for Jewish people? And so then you're getting these challenges during that time. And I know we've kind of come out of that, but you may have been dealing with that during that time with your family or friends. And now, you've got time to kind of sit in that. So I don't want you to sit and stew in it. we're gonna sit in it, and we're gonna think about it. We're gonna give it to the Father, and we're gonna ask him how to proceed. And that's really important during those times. All right. One of my favorite parts of our new moon study is the mazel. And if this is your first time coming in, I'll just give a quick, because I did all of this. Make sure you go back and read all the explanation of this in our first video that we did. But the mazel is the constellation. It's the story. The Father has put the story in the sky, and it's so obvious and so amazing and so beautiful that it just gets me every time that I read about it. And so for this month, we have the mazel is what we generally know as Sagittarius. The Hebrew word is keshet, which is like a bow or archer. So here we have our tribe Benjamin, who wields that bow so well. So the bow and arrow are seen throughout the scripture. And I just think in that 8th month, when we talked about Noah's Ark and we had the rainbow, we talked about rainbow is the promise, and it's the same word. Rainbow and a bow for an arrow is the same. And just that idea that he takes it out of the sky and fights those battles for us. You cannot get away from the idea of bows and arrows in our scripture. Psalm 45, 5-6, your arrows are sharp in the heart of the king's enemies. Oh no, I skipped one here, hold on. The Blue Letter Bible did a really nice article. I don't know if someone can plug this into the chat. If you just want to put it in, or just if you just go to Blue Letter Bible and you put in Psalm 45, he has a really nice little article that's in there that someone wrote. You might even just be able to Google it. That's how I found it actually, and it took me to Blue Letter Bible. But it was a really nice article, so you might go check that out on that. It's like a beautiful Psalm 45 is like this beautiful psalm or song, like a wedding song almost. It's really, really nice. So we went right from our tribe, who's renowned with the bow, to the mazel of Keshet, who is the archer in the sky. This archer in the sky has his arrow ready to fly. And what's interesting is last month, we know that it was Scorpio, or the scorpion, and we talked all about the scorpion as our enemy. In the word, in the scripture, over and over again, when it references a scorpion, it's about that judgment or oppression, the enemy kind of stinging at you, right? But what we see in the sky during this month is that Keshet, the archer, he has his arrow pointed at the heart of the scorpion. And like, what a cool picture that is. I have a couple more. Let me find it here real quick. Okay. Psalm 21 says, though they intended evil against you and devised a plot, they cannot succeed, for you make them turn their backs. You aim your bowstrings at their faces. Be exalted, Adonai, in your strength. We will sing and praise your might. Sorry. I'm hearing something in the background and I'm not sure why. I don't know if anybody else is hearing that, but. Okay. Paul makes a reference to a Greek poet, and I would not have known this if I had not looked up, seen it. It came up in my studying for this. We see him talking, with everyone, with all of those different deities around, and he, Paul being Paul and being able to speak to people, and all the knowledge that he had knowledge of this poet who talks about, basically the poem is about Zeus, but he talks about this great deity and about us being the offspring. And so Paul says, yes, we are the offspring. But if you look at that poem, it doesn't talk anymore about it in Acts, but that poem, when it talks about Sagittarius, it's a poem that references the constellations, but it'll say, in the midst of the golden star, he stands refulgent now and thrusts the scorpion with bended bow. So these stories, pictures that are in the sky, are stories that have been there, like ancient times. And of course, as we've talked from the very beginning, I believe that the Creator taught these to Adam and Eve, and then they kept teaching them to give them the story of what's to come. Let's see, the brightest star in Sagittarius is called Name. That's what I'm going to call it, the gracious one. And this takes us back to that Psalm 45 when he says that, I got like a touchy mouse here. You are fairer than the sons of men, and grace is poured upon your lips. And of course, is that not the perfect image of our Messiah? He's got the bow. He's got it aimed at the hearts of our enemies, the enemy. But there's grace upon, his lips. He gives us that comfort during that time to let us know what he's doing, how he's, protecting us. He's I feel like when we're so covered up with those identity issues, like being shame, like feeling shame or unworthy, that's where I see this verse coming in. He's fighting our enemy and he's saying, no, that is not who you are. That's what this scorpion is telling you, because he doesn't want you to live your best life that I have for you. And this takes us right into Revelation. We see our king returning on a white horse. And of course, we talked about the horse gate in our last month. I look and behold, there's a white horse. The one riding on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him. And he went out as a conqueror so that he might conquer. So it's all there. This is that time. I feel like those Second Chronicles that we read about Asa, just the idea of, when he went into battle, Asa knew what he had to do. He had to pray. He knew he couldn't do it. He said, you have to fight this battle because we don't have those numbers. And that's how the Father works the best. That's what he loves. He loves to work in those times. If we can do it in our own strength and we can do it ourselves, reading the Torah portions, as we've been coming up with Abraham, and like when he fights the kings, he's like, I don't want anybody to say that you gave me all that I have. This is what the Father has done for me. He's given me everything that I have so that nobody else can take the glory from him. Anything on that so far? I know sometimes the constellation is one of those that's maybe harder to see or harder to understand. If you have anything, just unmute and pop on in. Some of the lower constellations that we see during this time, one is Lyra, which is a harp. It means praise the conqueror. And it's an eagle with a harp. If you see the picture of it, sometimes you can find, if you look it up, you'll see a picture. The bright star that's in that one in Lyra is called Vega, which is he shall be exalted. And we just read that, right? Psalm 21, be exalted, Adonai, in your strength we will sing and praise your might.
I have a
And
question.
sure, Marion.
I'm sorry.
No,
I
you're
didn't
fine.
mean to interrupt what you were saying.
You're fine.
My question is, I know that the constellations had been perverted by humans, and maybe you've already mentioned this. I don't know. This is my first time being on the call. But if you're born under a certain sign of the constellations, and I was born on a cusp, which means I'm Libra and Scorpio.
Mm.
And I just heard you say that the scorpion is the evil one. I don't know, Libra shows the scales for balance. So I am confused, I guess, about my personality, or am I
Well,
perverted?
well, I would definitely say instead of looking at that, you can actually go online and look up your Hebrew birth date.
Mhm.
And I've always been a Taurus, like by, I don't know, whoever says that's, Taurus is in the sky in May. But my birth date, Hebrew birth date, actually puts me in a month before, I think. I'd have to go back and look at it now. I'm like blanking on it. But,
So
again,
not
it's
your Gregorian birth date, but a Hebrew birth date?
Mhm.
You mean the religious calendar or the civil calendar?
It would be the religious calendar. You can plug it in. I don't remember, there's like a website. And again, we are born, like, think of someone who's born like months early, right? And so their actual birth date may be in June, but there were complications and they were born way before
Right.
that. The Father's timing is the Father's timing. And the things that happen in the sky, those are the stories for us. It's not necessarily this is my personality or this is my like we're not talking about horoscopes and my future is based on this and my personality is based on this. These are just his stories. What we see is in all of these stories, we see the birth of the Messiah. We see the Messiah overcoming the enemy. We see the Messiah fighting on our behalf. And so those stories in the sky have been taken to say they may mean specific things for us. And I don't know that I don't know that I'm fully saying that. I think there's something about your season that you're born in, maybe like, I don't know. I like that's kind of out of my pay grade here. But I think personalities, we can tend to see that, but sometimes I think we're told what it is and then we assign ourselves to it because that's what we've been told. Just like when someone tells us you're not good at math or you're not good at this, or you think you're not good because you struggle with it, but maybe that's because you learn a certain way. So I wouldn't put so much into say that because I'm born under this sign, it means this. Hebraically, maybe mystically Jewish thought, there's probably things there that I'm not even touching. So, but I would look up your Hebrew birthday
Okay.
because it's really interesting about you look at the Torah portion that was for that that week, and sometimes I think almost you can get more out of that than anything that has to do with what's going on in the sky.
Because my Torah portion on the Gregorian calendar is the first portion. So I have to look at it under the Hebrew calendar, religious Hebrew calendar.
Right, because you'll have to remember, so like I said, my birthday is May 13th, and I thought I was in Yar, but I'm actually in Sivan.
Okay.
So I was actually born in the month of Sivan, not the month of Yar. So it may have been, maybe that was a longer, like a leap year or something like that.
Wow. Okay.
Just something
Thank
to
you
check
very
into.
much.
Just interesting.
So
Well,
Erica,
when you
quick
asked if there are any questions, that's why
Okay.
I engaged you.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you. I heard someone else.
that was me, Marcia.
Okay.
So quickly, these are like, they're like testifying of his story that, which to me, like, as I'm listening to you, there was the oral before they received the written. And so these are just like things that were set in place as a testimony to the things that of why he created everything, is that right?
Absolutely. That's the way I see it. And it says the
Okay.
heavens declare his glory, and it says he says them without words, they can speak. And
Okay,
so right there you go.
right,
And those stories have been taken and moved and used in different cultures for different reasons. But what's interesting is that they all, like almost across the board, no matter what culture, are the same type of picture
right,
and the same meaning behind them. They just may give them a different name. So, like, we may not want to talk about Hercules because we know who he is in that, in his story. However, but let's say not Hercules, let's look at Messiah. Messiah
right,
is crushing the head
right,
of the scorpion, and he's squeezing I think it's the I can't remember what they're called, but like the he's squeezing some figure that's like an evil figure. so
right.
so yeah, exactly.
Like a distortion, just like this is all new to me. Like I've been studying, for a couple of years, but this all is new to me. And so that's why I wanted to just clarify, that these were set in, they were just telling a story. They're still there. It's just been distorted by mankind. Like, there's truth and it's twisted. That's what the snake does. He twists things and then comes up with something else. So, all right, I got it.
Right, it's the light and the false light.
Yep, got
Erica, I
it.
have a question.
Sure.
This is Tish.
Mhm.
So this is my first being on the first call class, and I'm fairly new to all of this. But so my question, and I'm trying to learn this for many reasons, but as we move through homeschool, my daughter's in 4th grade, and we're studying astronomy. So as we take the time to start, and I've always been a look up in the sky kind of girl, but I've been noticing different things, of course, with the moon and during the seasons, and just trying to listen to what the Father's trying to speak. But so my question, when we say that, I guess it's Mazel would be Cachette, are those particular constellations in a certain section of the sky based on the month? Is there a certain direction I need to be looking? I mean, I know exactly where the moon begins in our yard. And I know that as the earth rotates. So which direction would we be looking?
Do you happen to have, do you have Sky View on your phone?
I actually, my older son just gave me, he's into the telescope and everything, night sky.
Okay, it's probably
So,
similar.
yes, where you can just aim it up in the air and it'll It'll show you where
When
everything is.
when we do our new moon sighting, so this Friday, our assembly will get together. And so I always call it cheating when I get out my sky view. We're trying to find the moon. So I get it out and I'm looking, and what
Yeah.
I'll notice is that it'll show you where the different constellations are. And I want to say that when the new moon comes up, somewhere around there, I don't know if it's fitted, I don't know enough about like the placement. If you
Okay.
look around, you're going to find, I was trying to see if I could actually see it from like in my bedroom, trying to see if I could see even now where it might be placed. But like let's take notice of that this
Okay.
weekend. And so next weekend we'll have it like, yes. So I know it has to do with positions. They have like the book that I go off of, and it's on our resource. Oh, did I bring it in? Yes, I did. So this is the book. It's called Zodiac. It's by a guy named Dr. James Kennedy. So he's not Torah observant. And this is actually the TBN special. So you got your big haired evangelist on the back, but he's got really good information. And what I love is that he'll go into all those names of those stars that I have no idea about. He has ideas that as those of us who are maybe Torah observant, my husband would get me, wouldn't he, Rhonda? As we are Yeshua observant, as we're pursuing truth, and maybe we have deconstructing ideas about heaven and hell and things like that, things may not line up. And like what Charlie says, anything that I recommend, always spit out the bones, go through it and discern, because there may things you and I don't even agree on, but that book has been really interesting. And he actually has in the back, he has like a picture. It's like, I know it's going to be like online. Oh, you can't see it at all. He has like a picture, it's almost like a circle in the sky that shows it. It's almost like wedges, like a clock. It's the clock. Everything is circular with the Father. And as I've learned it, you're looking at wedges of time. And in those wedges of time of the year, things fall in there. Like, so we've got the story that he has in the sky. And then when you're looking at your months, then you've got your tribes. And okay, this is totally off, but okay. So we had a teaching not long ago by someone who talked about a round tabernacle. And so, so whether you believe the tabernacle could be round or not, when I saw, because I study the months and the constellations, when I saw it and saw the tribes camped around the round tabernacle, like it was like layer upon layer upon layer, made complete sense to me. So that's neither here nor there about that. But what I'm saying is that when we're talking about the months and the constellations, you can kind of see how those tribes line up right in order with those things. So just something just something crazy that I just threw out there. Did not plan on doing that, but it's really just opened my eyes to those things. I just love learning. And one of the things when we were talking about Lyra and the harp, Revelation 12, I just read this today, and says the woman is given wings of eagles. So this is when the beast is coming after the woman. It says the woman is giving wings of an eagle. And just hearing that today in reference to learning that Lyra is in the sky, I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting connection. So,
I was
go ahead.
just going to mention when you were talking about circular, isn't it in Ezekiel where he talks about the circle within the circle?
Yeah. Yep. Wheels
I
on the
bet you
wheels.
Yeah, wheels upon wheels.
Mhm. Well, even when you look at our months, Keisha will talk about that, and Dr. Alewine, you know, we have the one civil calendar, the physical calendar, we have the spiritual calendar. Um, there can be layer upon layer of meaning on that. Let's see, before we move on to our gate, I will say one of the other constellations is called Ara, or consuming. I don't know how they get this full long name out of that, but this is all I have on it. But consuming fire prepared for his enemies. So Sagittarius is in the sky, and we actually can't see this one from the northern hemisphere. So any of our friends in Australia might be able to see it, but it's an altar that's kind of south of where Sagittarius lies. And in Psalm 21, which we referenced earlier, it says, "Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in time of thine anger. Fire shall devour them." I don't know. Again, we know when we talk about wheats and tares and all that thing, we have this fire idea, which is maybe it's not like necessarily fires of hell, but this refining fire that people will have to go through. And in 2 Thessalonians, it also says that Messiah is coming with a flaming fire. That's in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1. I don't have the verse. And then, of course, throughout all of these in the sky, we have Draco the dragon, or the serpent. And then Revelation 12, which corresponds to that, the woman giving wings like eagles. The star there is Thuban, and it means subtle. And in his head is a star that's called the head of the subtle. And of course, we know that that serpent was very subtle and sly in the way that he talked to Eve. He wasn't blatant about what he was trying to get to happen. He was very, very subtle. And sometimes we have to be on the lookout and, being craftier than the serpent, and what's the other one of doves? What's the verse? Craftier than serpent, innocent as doves. So we have to be on the lookout. We have to know what he's up to. And what's great is that we have the Bible, and the Bible makes it very clear what he's up to. All right, on to the Eastern Gate. So a gate is another one that I've come to love in just the past few months of really getting to know it. Why does it keep moving? There we go. The Eastern Gate is associated with the 9th month. So last time we talked, oh, Kathy, go ahead.
Did you get a PowerPoint? I'm not seeing the new PowerPoint. Were you referencing to a new, it's still on Mazel cassette.
Oh, let's see.
I don't know, because you were giving other scripture references, but it never did change from that page.
Okay, right now I've got it on Mazel, the Mazel, and
Okay.
then the tribe of Benjamin. Is everybody seeing tribe of Benjamin?
No, No, just
I'm
on the
not
model.
seeing any. I'm not seeing anything
Okay,
for
here,
some
let me
reason.
come out of it, and then
Yeah, I'm not either.
oh, it says your screen sharing has paused. Why is that?
I didn't want to interrupt you before, so I don't know if you turned any more since there.
Let's try this again. I don't know why it was paused.
Oh, now you've completely disappeared.
Hold on.
Here you are.
There. Can you see the Mazel now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. That was the last thing you guys saw, was this one?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how it got to pause. Mhm. Okay. There's our Greek poet. There's, if you need some of those verses, we got Psalm 45, Psalm 21, Revelation 6, and Revelation 12 are some good ones that kind of encompass that mazel.
And these will be in the back office under your where you were talking about earlier? These PowerPoint pages?
I
Notes?
haven't put the PowerPoints in, but I could.
Oh,
But or if you want me to just email them to you instead of having Sydney up, if you want, at the end, I can put my email, or you can put your email, and I'll get those down. You can
Oh, okay.
email me. I have a Rooted Cafe email. I keep forgetting that I have a Rooted Cafe email. You can actually email me through that.
So the
Hey,
notes are
Marshall.
different than these PowerPoints?
Yes, the notes are just
Okay.
bullet points for you to write on.
Hmm,
So it just has like,
Oh.
it'll say muzzle, it'll say gate, it'll say tribe,
hmm.
and you just write the information in there.
Oh.
You do all that
Hey.
work.
Hey, Erica.
Yes.
Marcia asked, is the app Skyview Lite?
It might be, that's the free one, I think.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So the Eastern gates, this has to do with the gates around the walls of Jerusalem, around what was the temple. And a couple things interesting that I learned today about the Eastern gate is that, is that what we see now, like if you go and you Google Eastern Gate, it's going to show you this big double-doored wall that's sealed up. And that happened, I think, during the Ottoman Empire. The Muslims sealed it up because they know there was a prophecy about the Messiah returning through the Eastern Gate. However, what we see there, when you Google it or if you go to Israel, if you've gotten that chance and you're looking at the Eastern Gate, that is not the gate that the Messiah had gone through during biblical times. This is a new one. They have recently, I don't know how recent, it said recent, but I don't know what the time frame of the article I read. There is a lower gate, which of course, anytime you're over in that area, everything you see is almost like built upon, right? So underneath those big double doors, they have found what they believe would have been the gate that the Messiah would have used. So we get the Eastern Gate associated with the 9th month, because if you read Nehemiah, he goes through the different gates and he goes through like who fixed them. He'll say the name of the worker or the priest that was associated with them in most cases. I think in last month, I think we did not have any names associated with the horse gate. It was just the priest fixed it up. And we actually see it connected like that in this one, in that it says Eastern Gate did not have any repairs that needed to be made. And so you see the priest fixing like the walls around it or their houses. And two that were mentioned is Shechaniah, who is inhabited of Yahweh, and he was the keeper of the Eastern Gate, and his son Shemaiah, which is heard of Yahweh. So they were the ones who were fixing that area around there, maybe their home, maybe the walls surrounding it. The Eastern Gate, I just did that one, sorry. So our king has been, that we've been talking about, returning with that bow. He's going to enter through the Eastern Gate, and you can look at Ezekiel 44 for that one. Oh, goodness. All right. Double doors, double blessings was one of the things that was mentioned, and I thought that was interesting. So the Eastern Gate, it just makes me wonder prophetically what that's going to look like, if that wall is going to come tumbling down or the one that's there is going to break through. They did put a cemetery in front of it, so it's kind of like a double buffer. So it's like, oh, we've sealed the gate, you can't go through, and we have dead bones, which we know that they don't go through cemeteries. It would make him unclean. However, I'm thinking everyone's going to be resurrected. So will there be dead bodies there? they're all going to be resurrected, whether, for judgment. So that just was a thought that came to me today. So I don't think that cemetery is going to make one bit of difference. And I went backwards. Goodness, I'm sorry. I don't know what is going on with my fingers today. Samek is the letter that is associated with this month. And Samek is like probably my favorite letter. It could have been earlier this year, the end of last year, with everything that was going on. One of the sermons messages that my husband gave was about the secret place, and Psalm 91 was kind of his jumping point off of that. And so I was helping him with it. So maybe that's one of the reasons that I liked it so much, because I helped him write that message. But the word for secret is Sether. I don't know if I have that on there.
You don't. How do you spell that, Erica?
It is S-E, it'd be T-H-E-R or T-E-R. And I have it, I had it, the H number, the Hebrew number. If you go to, if you use Blue Letter Bible or New Jerusalem.
It looks like it's on there, H5643. Is that the one that you're talking about? Secret place?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's there, like the 1, 2, 3.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Fourth bullet down. Yep.
Sorry. I had one of my bars was over top of it. Yes. So Psalm 91, he that dwells in the secret place, that is the Strong's 5643 Sather, for secret. And so it starts with a Samek, and just when we think of 9 months, of course, we think of the womb, right? So when you look at a Samek, you think of this enclosed, supportive, safe place that you have. It's a secret place where life takes place. Things are being knitted together. I just love the imagery, all of like that surrounds this letter. So surround or comfort is the idea here. So we need to have our secret place with the Father so that life can grow, so that we can come out of that secret place. Isaiah 26:20 says, go into the chambers, shut the door until the wrath has passed. And so that idea that we need to go in there so that we can be strengthened and supported. We're pouring things out. Those tears that Rachel's crying over her children, maybe that's what's going on in your secret place. Maybe there's tears that you're crying for your prodigal, for your spouse, for family or other friends that you just want to see come to know the Messiah. We kind of talked about that in the last month. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but something was coming to my mind when you were talking about this. So in the beginning, you were saying, these are the dark months. And what's so interesting with this, and that I'm connecting, is that, it's this secret place is darkness, like it's like where the seed goes, this, unless a seed drops to the ground. And so, I just wanted to say that, because I think I'm connecting it. That's what I'm seeing, is that, we always think of, being surrounded. We don't think about those dark places, how those are things that bring forth life too. And that's just what I'm seeing with what you're saying is I don't know, I would wanted to mention that. I didn't mean to.
No, that's perfect. And I love that, like, when we talk about like that light and the false light, so we know that the light gives and the false light just takes and kind of gives a glittery, look to things, but doesn't serve its purpose. And it's the same way with darkness, like dark, that contronym that we talk about with like letters and Hebrew understanding. Darkness is that same way. Darkness can be bad. It can be overwhelming. It can be frightening. Dark deeds come to light. You're trying to do things in secret. That's the bad kind of secret. But when things bring forth life, like you said, in those dark places, if it's for protection, if it's for nurturing and nourishing, which is taking place in that soil and in that womb, and it's
Right.
bringing forth that fruit, that's how we know that it's life-giving.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That was just a beautiful picture in my mind when you were talking, and I'm like, I gotta say something
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
yeah, it's like but sometimes it can be really scary to us, but like, what seems to be judgment for, the wickedness is also bringing about, protection and deliverance for us. And when we are in those dark places, sometimes, it can be scary to where we feel like running instead of running into it, like into that secret place and waiting for that seed to break forth, um, or birth, like you said, like a birthing. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
That's wow. I like this letter too.
Yeah, I do. I just love it. And I love, as you mentioned birthing there at the end, you know, we know what has to happen to get that baby. It's not easy, and it can
Right.
be painful, and it's a squeezing, all of those things.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't trade it for the reward that we get on the other side.
Right. Right. Exactly. That's this. It's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
no, go ahead, Rhonda.
Well, I was thinking too, is that when you think of, if you think of darkness or in a spiritual way, sometimes we tend to just think of darkness as as in warfare, right? Because of what it says in Isaiah about until the wrath has passed. But darkness can also be a place of not knowing, a place of being unsure of what the Father's plan is or his will is. But I love the visual where it says, shut the door until the wrath has passed, because it's like if you retreat, you're going into that secret chamber and you're just waiting on him. You're waiting on him because we don't know all that the storm entails. We're just experiencing it in the moment, whatever that storm is, whether it is, something going personal in your life, or just the uncertainty of not knowing, what's coming up or what's next, right? But to be able to just know that there's a chamber. I think of the submarines. That's what I think of as a chamber. That is secure, that is solid, nothing's coming in and you're not leaving out until that door is open, right? And so I love the visual of the word chamber, because I'm also thinking of nautilus, the chambers of a nautilus, which reminded me of that spiral place of that connection, the spiritual connection that the Father has with us when we are in communication with him, when we're
Right.
waiting on him. Sorry, ladies, I'm a visual learner for any of you who know. So
Oh,
my
too,
mind goes
Bert.
all over, but
Okay.
such beautiful visuals from the scriptures.
Mhm.
In the same token, our Father keeps us in a secret place and he cloaks us from danger many
Mhm.
times.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
pretty. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, even that second part of that verse, I only have the first one, that he dwells in the secret place. He that dwells in the secret place will abide in the shadow of his wings. And so we know that. So we have a little farm, and we had baby chicks hatched this year. And so, when you go in there, I told Steve, I'm like, I have not yet seen those babies. Well, I have now. Now they're bigger. But when they were first born, I never see them because they are under her, and she's got them so well hidden. You would not even know that there's babies there until one peeks his little head out. And so when he peeks his little head out, it's so cute. And it's just like that, again, that beautiful visual of just having, that she's got them covered up in because you're in that secret place, you can abide under that shadow of his wings, which we also know is his Torah, because we're under his protection when we're following his ways. That doesn't mean that everything is perfect in our life, because we have to deal with the outside world coming in. But it means he's there to, like, to pull us back in. He's there to guide us. He's there to show us how to deal with those things that are trying to come in and rock our world a little bit. Beautiful insights that you guys have given on that. Thank you, ladies. Our Madot. So I was getting down to the wire here. So I got less and less graphics. Now I just got these boring slides with not all my cute little graphics that I was having fun making. I was like, I gotta get these done. Gratitude, compassion, and helpfulness. Those are the Madots, and Madots are characteristics that each month has certain things assigned to them. And again, if you see kind of the theme of what's going on, you will see how these fit in. And I'm thinking of, you know, just even in our Gregorian calendar right now, as we're thinking about gratitude, you know, Thanksgiving coming up. And in these darker times that we've just now been talking about, sometimes we have to have compassion on those who are in that journey that is somewhere. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. That as they're walking through something that maybe you've already walked through, or you've been through those dark times, that's what gives us that compassion, and we're able to help those. We have gratitude that the Father has taken us out of those things, and we can share with those who are in need, whether it just be a helping hand, understanding where they're coming from, because we have walked that. And I just think that's so important, especially in these times right now, because it's so easy just to bypass and not pay attention, or not, we're so busy with our own lives to stop and actually feel compassion for someone. Sometimes it takes more than we really understand, especially in these times. Is there any of those three that kind of jump out? I said in the first one, usually when we do our new moon study, Rhonda has these sitting out on a card, and then we write them on rocks, whichever one. You can write all of them. You could write something else about the month. I do one of the Madots, the one that just kind of jumps out at me. And so I'll look at it and just feel like where the Father's pulling me. And I know right now it's that compassion. So when I get to the month of Kislev and I get my rock, unless it's changed because we're a month later than you guys. So who knows? Maybe something will happen during this month that'll make me say, oh, maybe it's helpfulness. But compassion is the one that's jumping out at me. Is there any that you guys want to share that you see that just jumps at you, that you feel like this is what you need to focus on this month?
I'm agreeing with you. I think compassion for me as well, Erica.
Beautiful. We all need more
think my-
compassion.
This month is helpfulness, helping others. There's a lot of people that have been reaching out, asking for help.
Yeah.
So in different categories of their life.
Yep. Beautiful. And this is definitely the time, again, because we're in those quiet months, we can start setting aside the time, so that when we get busy, we've already made the space. And that's one of Charlieism, I say. She was talking about you make space for things, and sometimes when we're busy, it's hard to start something new because you're in the midst of the crazy. But as you come into these quiet months, it's like, let's make time. Let's make space. And some people don't like the idea of like making space, like that. When I think of this, making space for gratitude, well, this should just roll off of me. Well, sometimes it doesn't, just because of our circumstances. So if I say, I'm going to make a space for gratitude, which means every morning I'm going to write up, or every night I'm going to write something that I'm thankful for. I've made space for gratitude. Compassion. Maybe I need to make space. Like, again, how do you make space for something that's like, it's almost a feeling, not a feeling. It's kind of like the word remember in the Bible, because we know all of our Hebrew words like come from verbs, right? So remember just doesn't mean I recall something. That means I take action on behalf. So I feel like compassion is like that. Like I have something inside me that says I need to do something for someone, or I need to reach out to this person. So I need to make space. We have someone in our assembly who just lost their mom suddenly. So as far as compassion goes, I need to make a space that says I'm going to reach out to that person and make sure that I touch base with them like every couple of days to make sure they're doing okay. During Tabernacles, we had a young mom who had a morning. She was there. Her husband had to work, so she was there by herself with her kids, and she was ready to just, you could see it. And her RV was next to mine. And, just stopping to talk to her, making space. So I want to make sure when I'm thinking about this compassion, I want to make sure that I reach out to her and I make space, that I connect with her, to let her know that I'm still thinking about her, that I'm still praying for her. It wasn't a one-time deal. Sometimes it is, because maybe you only see the person once and never again, or have any way to connect with them. Maybe that's how the Father did it. But for me, I'm going to make space for that. And then just like making space for helpfulness, how am I going to do that? Like, if you know specific people that you can help, how am I going to? So every Friday, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go drop off. I'm going to go drop off a meal. I'm going to go drop off a gift card. I'm going to go take them a card. Whatever the Father is placing on you. We have to make these ideas of gratitude, compassion, helpfulness. In the past, it's been diligent, faithfulness. Don't just let them be words that are ideas in our head. This is hard for me. I have to take them from the ideas to making them tangible. So that a challenge for us this month, for myself and for you guys and anybody who watches later. Like, let's make space for those things and see what happens. When we make space for the things the Father's calling us to do, He's going to show up and He's going to do awesome things. So I look forward to hearing those next month, ladies.
Hey, Erica, as
Yep.
as I'm looking at the 3 words, I look at the one that's in the middle is compassion, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking compassion, that's an emotion, right?
Mhm.
And then I look at helpfulness and gratitude, and I think if I have compassion, then that's where helpfulness comes in. That's the step that's putting the emotion into an action, right? And when we're helpful, whether we're giving it or we're receiving it, if somebody else is being helpful to me, that's where the gratitude. So I love that cycle. It's like a circular cycle, right? It's never, it's like it's a connecting thing, And so as you were thinking and as you were talking and you were like, when you're talking about gratitude, it's like one of my favorite middotes. I love it so much. And I was thinking some years past, just a little simple thing, ladies. We just created a mason jar, just has a little label that says grateful. It's not the joy that makes us grateful, it's the gratitude that makes us joyful. And when my kids were younger, I would have them like write little thoughts, of what they were grateful for. But I was thinking, I'm not a very good journaler, but I was thinking maybe every time I receive help or I receive, a blessing from somebody else, or I was able to do it, it's just a tangible way. Erica's using the word tangible, a tangible way of maybe keeping note, like recording us maybe a year or even a month, just this month. Like how often? So it's like a visual of how mindful were we in putting that emotion or a thought into an action. So it's just a different way of journaling, I was thinking.
Absolutely. I love it. And I love that you brought up the idea of helping, but then receiving help or receiving compassion or receiving gratitude, because sometimes that's not easy for us. And that's, you know, someone else receives a blessing when they're acting that out. And when we try to stifle that, you know, it's not easy. I'm not a big ask for help person. So that's why I kind of brought that out. Maybe helpful. I don't know. Maybe I need to rethink that one by next month. But yeah, that's important too. I love that it's not only going out, but also what's coming in. Good. Nice,
That's
ladies.
great.
Love it. Okay. Our scents for the month. And so if this is a little new to you, so we know our 5 senses. And so the scents kind of go in the sense in terms of the Jewish thought and the biblical months goes beyond just taste, touch, hearing, you know, things like that. It goes beyond that into just things that, how would you describe it, Rhonda? Things are, so one of them will be coming up will be anger. It can be walking. It can be your, you know, it can be your actions, right? So this one is as the days, sleep and dreams. And of course, you know, we have darker days, kind of makes us think of that. I don't know about you, but as soon as it gets like this, I want to be a bear and I want to hibernate and I want to know why we can't hibernate. But with sleep comes dreams, and that's kind of the biggest thing. So the first thing I'm going to say for sleep is so important. And I am the last person who should tell you that. I work 3rd shift. I don't get enough sleep, and I never have. I'm a night owl. When I was like a teenager, I kind of had insomnia. Like I'd make myself go to bed at 10 o'clock, but I'd lay awake and my mind would go. But I just naturally, my mom was a night owl. I was kind of a night owl. Before I started working, I would be up late, like, you know, 12, 1 o'clock, because it was like my me time. And then I'd be up at, you know, 6:30 with the kids. So I was never like 6 hours is like my go-to. But as now I'm older, I find that my body can't be as productive as it used to be for lots of reasons. And I know that sleep is one of the main ones. So Father is trying to get across to me. So be praying for that as I try to figure out my job situation to begin to take better care of myself. Sleep is important. I remember reading a study at my job, which was funny. I work 3rd shift at a prison, and there was a magazine, a science, popular science, and the whole magazine was about sleep. And I remember the one article I was reading was about what one all-nighter. So like if you're in college and you stay up all night and you're studying, what that does to the body. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like how, like all these people that you know that have been on 3rd shift, like half their working lives. My husband has done it for the last 11 years, I think. And I've been on it for the last 6. So I can't imagine people who've done it their whole lives. But yeah, so again, a lot of that too has to do with what you take in to your temple, how you take care of yourself. So so I'm going to leave that sleep part right there. And if that is something that you and the Father need to work out, then by all means, let him work with you on that to get sleep. But with sleep are dreams. And this is kind of really the interesting part of this that can come up, to begin to pay attention to your dreams. And this can be hard because sometimes they're not nice. They're not nice dreams. They're not good dreams. Or there may be dreams you don't understand. They may be violent. Um, so pray into this month. If you are a dreamer, maybe you're someone who dreams all the time and already journals those dreams down. Maybe you don't dream that much or don't remember your dreams. I think we all dream. We just don't always remember. Take notice if you have more. So this time last year was when I think we really first like took notice of this being the month of dreams. If Rhonda, I would think she would probably agree with me. And it wasn't an easy month. And I actually had someone who randomly contacted me, a friend of mine. Like, you know, we're not like really great friends. She's not someone in faith, but she contacted me and was talking about dreams. And she actually just messaged me again a couple months ago because she has had she has night terrors, and she's had a reoccurring dream that has kind of followed. She just moved from our area to Southern Illinois and has had reoccurring dreams that has kind of followed her, and she just doesn't know what to do about it. And I just thought it was interesting on the cusp of the month of Kislev. Rhonda began having dreams. Two people contacted me, or I had conversation. One contacted me and we talked almost exclusively about dreams. Somebody else had mentioned their dreams. It just was just it was like a wake up, pay attention neon sign last year, this time, about dreams. And so if you go to graceandtora.net, Keisha and Bonnie Manning, who we've heard on the Rooted Cafe, have done, there's an audio clip. It's probably under the month of Kislev. So she has a new moon section, and then it has each of the months, and it'll have like a link to her videos or articles she's written. There is a link to this it's kind of a discussion interview type of thing that Keisha and Bonnie did about dreams. That'll give you more information, or just kind of about maybe things to ask yourself about, like, what did that mean, or what could that have meant? There's a lot of resources out there about like what things mean in dreams. Look in the Bible. If there's numbers, pay attention to that. Pay attention to the names of the people in your dream. All kinds of things like that that could come up. I'm definitely absolutely no expert in dreams. The Father's only given me a handful of dreams that I know were very significant, and usually they're to pray for people. And so those are usually pretty not personal, but I'll wake up and know that I'm supposed to pray for that person. One, because the dream will be very vivid, even if it doesn't make sense. It will be very vivid, and I'll know it's about that person, and I'll know why. Even so, like I had a dream about a girl I went to high school with, and that she had to make a decision. The dream would have made no sense to anyone. I hadn't talked to this girl since high school, but it was so burdened on me that I needed to pray for her. I sent her a message and I told her, and I didn't hear anything right away from her. I just told her, I said, hey, I had a dream about you, and I just felt like I should pray, I think it was about decision making. And she sent me a message back like maybe a month later or so, and said that was perfect. Like she said she was going through some stuff where she did have to make decisions. And so, it could be something like that. It could be as easy as that. Sometimes those dreams aren't meant for anybody else but you and the Father. Rhonda, I don't know if you want to share just any insight on that, because you've had to deal with more of those dreams than I have. You don't have to share anything, but.
No, I was just thinking, you're right. Sometimes those dreams are just between you and your Father, but when you don't understand them, but you know that there's a pressing on you, you feel like there's something significant, then you want to tell people because you're seeking answers. You're seeking translation of the dream, right? So I think that you're right on about, I mean, if you start recording your dreams, ladies, as many details as you can remember, like Erica said, they won't always make sense. But if you just, you don't even have to have a full sentence, but just jot down as many things as you can remember. And then you have it on a piece of paper, and then you ask the Father to give you a translation to reveal what the dream means. Or ask him to send you somebody, just he'll work it out. Like it may come up in conversation, or just ask him, I want to ask this person, or tell me, who can I ask for the revealing of this dream. Like Erica mentioned, we started paying attention to dreams. Erica knows I've shared many of my dreams with her. And they can be pretty burdensome, but somehow when you write them down or you just make a note of them, I've just started recently, just in the last year now, because we've only been studying this a year, just writing down what month it was in, the 7th month, and the date, right? And so it's pretty interesting when you go back around to kind of like know what was going on spiritually in the same month, and where you might be at this time. They can be disturbing, but they can be mysterious. But I believe, this is what I say now. If I could leave you just one thing, is this. I'll say, Father, I don't want to have one dream intercepted by the enemy. And I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but there's some pretty demonic dreams that you can have. But so I'll just say to him, I'm just asking that you keep guard of my dreams, and that if I dream something that's uncomfortable, I'm going to trust that it's from you, and I'm going to trust that you're going to give me the translation of this dream, or the meaning. I'm going to trust that it came from you, because I know that your word tells me you're not going to give me more than I can handle.
Hallelujah. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
I love that the word for dream is almost like shalom, but it's a halom, halom with a het, and it gives off that same meaning though of restoration and wholeness. So I just pray that as we go into these months, if you have dreams, that it's something that can bring restoration and wholeness, as you travel through it. And yeah, so again, I just agree with Rhonda in the idea of just giving those over to the Father, the good and the bad and the ugly. Job 33:15 says, in a dream and a vision of the night, when deep falls on the people, he terrifies them with a warning. And then it goes on to say, so that they will turn from their wicked ways. So sometimes I think, sometimes you have to be careful who you tell your dreams to. Like maybe telling them to your spouse is not always the best. Steve looks at me sometimes like I'm nuts. Yeah, like he's a very spiritual guy and he'll have dreams, but sometimes I'll just tell him random dreams and he's just like, I don't even know. But again, maybe those are the ones that are just between me and the Father. But I think it's interesting that we see all throughout the word that so many things happened in a dream, so many messages. We saw a life plan for Joseph in a dream, and we will begin to read those in the next few. So here we'll be starting with Jacob this week, I believe. We'll be getting into those dreams, Jacob's dreams, Joseph's dreams, the dreams of the king or the Pharaoh. There's just so many interesting things that happen. Jeremiah, at the end of one of his discourses, he says, and I woke up, so we know that it was a dream. He was dreaming. Joel 2:28 says, I'll pour out my spirit and your sons and daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, and your young men will see visions. And so don't just pay attention to night dreams, pay attention to daydreams. Maybe it's a vision. maybe it's a word the Father's given you. I'm someone who has a really hard time with being a dreamer, and not night dreaming, but just like, this is what I think this would look, this is how I perceive this looking. I would love to do this. I would love to be a part of this ministry, or I would love to help or volunteer or do, whatever it may. Maybe you want to write a book. Maybe you want to start a blog. Maybe you just want to see certain things happen in your family. You want to institute certain traditions in your family, and that almost feels like a dream because your family is so fighting against you. So take into account those dreams, write those dreams down too, and give those to the Father. Because if they are the dreams and the desires of your heart that line up with his will, he will make a way. So don't just think of night type of dreams. I want you to think of visions and dreams you have for your life, dreams you see for your kids and your grandkids. Be a dreamer like Joseph. It may start in the darkness, but there'll be breakthrough and new life, and we have to hold on to that. That is he doesn't want to give you things that are scary or terrifying just to scare you and terrify you. There's a reason for that. And like Rhonda said, seek him out, find out what those things are for.
Erica, the scripture that came to my mind was hope deferred makes the heart sick. So it's kind of like what you're saying, like when you have those desires that well up in your heart, I'd like to do this, or, it's, hoping, taking it to the Father and making sure that, it's part of his plan for us. But, just putting our hope in that desire that he's placed in our heart, that vision that you said, kind of like, and not like just chucking it away, like I can't do that, or that's not who I am. And that can, so when we hang on to that hope, it's, it produces what you've named this class.
Exactly. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that, Marcia. I love it. When we come into Ihad with him, that's when we see those things happen. Oh, I don't know why it keeps flipping on me. Other considerations. The organ for the month is stomach, and I think of digestive issues. Let's see if I can find the right book here right away. Emotional healing. This is one of the books. It's on our resource page when you check it out in the call. Hebrew and Healing in the Hebrew Months. She talks about the stomach, and she talks about that has to do with, which I think is so perfect and fitting for this month, the idea of a lack of trust or hopelessness, self-blame. And, with this month being about trust and hope, I mean, it makes perfect sense that this would be the time that those things would be attacked. And one of the things that came up, can't remember exactly which resource it was, but it talked about, I think it was actually in the series, but it was in the other one. It talked about, what about our trust issues with the Father? Because this might be a time to deal with those. A disappointment, because maybe there has been a hope or dream that we've had that hasn't come to fruition. So maybe we're having trouble trusting that he can make it happen or will make it happen, or trust that he has a better plan for us, or that we've lost some hope. Maybe not even necessarily because of the Father, but because of things that have happened around us, or things that we're seeing within our family or friend group or congregation or something that has caused us to say, I just don't see a way. I just don't know how it can happen. Or maybe we're putting it on us. We're constantly self-blaming because something broke down. Maybe that dream didn't happen, or that something didn't come to fruition, and it has to be my fault. I had to have messed this up somehow. And so I think sometimes we take all these things on without even asking the Father. It's just our natural first instinct to say, "Ah, I can't believe I did that. And, this would have been so much better if I wasn't the one in charge, or it would have been so much better if, um, it probably would have happened in a more, whatever it may be, a timely way. It We would have got a better turnout if I would have let so and so handle it, instead of thinking it should have been me. Well, take those things to the Father, and He's going to work those things out in you, and He's going to say, maybe you did take it over and it wasn't your spot to take because you didn't seek me in the first place. And you have to go, oh, okay, now I got to deal with that. But we have to trust that He wants the best for us, and He's going to work those things out in us. But I think sometimes there's some deep seated trust issues with the Father that affects our relationship this way and our relationships this way that we have to deal with. And when we talked about in the last month, we talked about those roots laying bare after the flood. We had this deluge, so maybe there were some things that destruction was caused. We know that, and so as Noah came out, the land had to be renourished and had to be filled up, had to be made plentiful again. And so really seek the Father if maybe there's some trust, or just it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And see if there's something deeper in there that you need to deal with between you and the Father.
Yeah, Erica, when you're talking about you're creating the visual for the deluge, and I'm thinking it's like it's like a life needed to be rerouted, right? It needed to start again, right? And so I'm imagining when you're talking about the roots being laid bare, everything was, right? It was just like all of those, whatever was there is now revealed. It's in plain sight now, right? And it's not looking very good. When I'm looking at the organs, stomach and digestive issues, I'm thinking about anxiety. And when we're feeling nervous or anxious, what is that? That's a lack of trust. When we're feeling, and you get a stomach ache when you're anxious, right? You have a stomach ache and you can have long-term digestive issues from being nervous all the time, right? Some people will call it I just have a nervous stomach. What is that, right? And I look at the word hopelessness. What is that? That's depression, right? These are issues that are revealed in other ways. And then it takes me all the way back to the beginning of your talk when you talk about the secret place. Like that's the place to bunker down. That's the place to stay so that we learn to grow trust. Our trust is strengthened in Him, where we learn to have hope, even if it starts with a flicker of light, right? And that it grows. So in that place, in that quiet, still place, we can regain all of these things that we're looking at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of my favorite stories as of late was the story of Elisha and the Shunammite woman. We had someone do a message on that probably almost 2 years ago now, and it just stuck with me so much. And I thought, if you're not familiar with the story, this woman was faithful to take care of Elisha when he came into town, that they built a room for him. And Elisha wanted to do something for her, and the the servant said, his helper said that didn't have any children. She was barren. So he said something to her, and she was almost like, don't you promise me those things. Like, and then she had a son who, probably became the light of her world. And then he died. And I think of the disappointment and the lack of trust. Like that, when I think of this, I think of that story, and I think of her saying, I didn't even ask for this. I didn't even ask for it, and you gave it to me, and now it's gone. You've taken it away. And I don't know, that whole story. I can't give you the Bible reference for it right now, but maybe if that's something that you're dealing with, maybe check out that story. And the idea that a resurrection will take place, like Rhonda said, a resurrection will take place. I just can't even imagine sometimes some of the things that, and hurts and things that people have had to deal with. When I look around, I feel like mine is so minimal. He cares about everything that I go through. But when I think of some of the things that people have had to go through, that wow, I think there has to be some kind of something they're holding onto there, and they're seeking the Father. When you see them continue to put their trust and their hope into Him through those things. So if you're in those places, we just pray in those things for you, and just pray that you continue to seek Him in that secret place, like Rhonda said. I know in these dark times, I think it's really kind of cool that He gives us this festival of lights. Hanukkah is something that's, I would say, fairly new for our family to really just kind of take notice. Like, we've obviously known about it. We've read a little bit about it. Read through the Maccabees. If it's something that's new to you, read through the Maccabees 1 and 2 to get some of the historical things about it. I didn't put a ton of stuff in here about it, just because there would have been so much that we could have done, and I don't even know what time it is at this point. So we're going on a couple hours here. So the Feast of Dedication, the Festival of Lights. Some people think that this is when the Messiah was conceived within Mary. And then that would give 9 months later into the fall feast time. So what a beautiful gift that we were given during that time, if that would be the case. And I love, again, the idea of the menorah. When we think of the menorah and the miracle that took place there, of just that ever burning light that is there, not extinguishing, so that they could dedicate the temple. Like, what a beautiful picture. And I can't help, because I'm a creation gospel student, I can't help but bring in, if we are the light of the world, and we are walking out in the spirit of truth, and the Father is working in us, that light we're going to emanate is going to be full of wisdom, understanding, wise counsel, power, knowledge, and a reverence for the Most High. So when we're thinking about, what it does mean to be a light of the world, that city on the hill, it should encompass those things. It should encompass what we see there in our menorah, in the sevenfold spirit of the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. And so I just begin to take notice of those things this month. Where are we seeing those things being birthed out of us into other people? Because that's what it looks like. If we are a light, then we should be be giving that out to other people. You know, we should be walking in wisdom and understanding so that we can give wise counsel to those around us. Walking in the power of the Holy Spirit. You know, when we're praying to get things done. We're not praying just to make somebody, you know, feel good about things or make us feel good that we've done our duty to pray. We're praying, we're walking it out in the power and the power to spread his word, to the seed that we're repopulating, right? This time frame when we think of, I think we think of this being kind of the dead months, nothing's happening. But we know there's a lot of work going on there in those roots. There's a lot of seed that does get planted during this time. We've got those winter crops, we call them up here where we're at. So in some fields next spring, there'll already be a crop coming up of winter wheat or something like that. That'll be for livestock, for feeding, to bring life and nourishment to something. So yeah, this is the time to begin planting those seeds in us and those around us. We are filled with potential. The 9th month, potential. What new life is about to be birthed? What dreams are about to bear fruit? And although we may have to have a letdown from the hustle and bustle of feast, the Father has given us this time to reflect and to dream. He's given us the light in Hanukkah to give us understanding of what's going on. Maybe we have to fight the world systems. That's what, you know, we saw them fighting against. One of the things they were fighting against during the time of the revolt. Maybe we're weeping like Rachel over our children who are in exile. And we're waiting for them to come back to the land. But we know that he has sent one that conquers those dark places. His arrow is pointed at the enemy and he is taking aim and he is bringing comfort and healing. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Ladies, that is all I have, I think, for tonight. Is there anything that anybody has, any last minute things they want to share or go over, or questions, concerns, criticisms? I'll take them all.
This is so awesome. I have enjoyed every second of this.
Oh, that was awesome. Was that you, Susan?
Yes,
Oh, thank you.
I
That's
loved it.
that just makes my heart sing, because this is such a passion and love that the Father has given me that I absolutely never expected. The first time I read something on the Hebrew months, I never thought it would have the significance. I thought I was just gaining some knowledge about some things. But when I began to see it, that word tangible become tangible in my life, it it'll begin to blow you away, because that means he's speaking to you, and he's trying to share things with you in those messages he has in the months for us.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. This has really been great.
Awesome.
I'm
Thank
going to
you.
second you, Susan. Absolutely wonderful.
Mhm.
Wonderful.
Thank
And
you, ladies.
it's so wonderful to have this group where we can share together.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
I agree.
Yeah, it's been
Kara?
fabulous. Thank you so very much.
Yeah. I wanted to say I enjoyed the class so much, and I'm gonna have to get off. I got a class with Halisa in 5 minutes. Oh yeah. So
You're going to
but
be on Learn Overload tonight. That's great.
yeah. But I wanted to share, I put it in the chat, and I think it went directly to Susan, but that's how I came to Torah, was by a dream.
Hallelujah. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And because I started, like, I lost my son, and it was like it was like almost like, you know, I almost didn't make it, you know. And so when you were talking about, like, you know, that whole, or, you know, hanging on to those roots and things, that's like what I was thinking about, like, you know, the deluge, when everything was just like barren and everything, but the seed was still there, you know, that came forth. And so yeah, I started studying the Hebrew, and then I had a dream, and he just led me to the right people, like to where it just started. I was like, oh my gosh, they don't teach us this, you know what I mean? But like, I didn't understand the dream at all. But I just prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and he just led me, to Creation Gospel, to Halisa, to you guys, I'm just like soaking this stuff up. It's just,
That's
he's so faithful, so
That's
faithful.
beautiful.
So anyway, I love everyone, and
Thank you.
you did a beautiful job, and I just wanted to say good night, and
Thanks for being here.
Night.
yep, bye, shalom,
Shalom.
Shalom. Bye.
bye.
I'm going to turn off our recording, ladies.